Good afternoon, everyone. This is Jim Kwock, and this is a Jim Kwock podcast. Today, episode 3, we have a good friend of mine, Brenda Jones, whom I met at community camp, and I've had an opportunity to meet a number of times after that because we have a lot in common in terms of our focus on raising private money and in investing that way in projects. So with that, I'd like to let Brenda tell us a little bit about herself and what her focus is. Brenda?
Sure. Thanks, Jim. Thanks for having me. Yeah, my name is Brenda Jones. I'm out of Orange County, California. I'm a recruiter for a tech company, and I've been in Sub 2 for about 5 months now. And I don't have any real estate experience, but I've learned a lot in this 5 months. And right now I'm focusing on raising capital and putting that into multifamily and potentially some single families here in Orange County.
That's awesome. In fact, I actually met somebody that you might be interested in. Just yesterday, I was talking to a guy named Cesar Garcia, and he's an operator in multifamily.
Oh, great.
So he knows how to find multifamily projects. And I told him, hey, I think you need to meet Brenda. You maybe need to go to this private money conference that we're going to go to in November, and maybe we can work together. So,
yeah.
So what led you to multifamily? What are you interested in there?
Yeah, so that kind of all spurred up as well after community camp, which was an amazing experience. I knew it was going to be life-changing. I was able to spend some quality time with Vina Jetty, which is the mentor for multifamily. So, it just seems more exciting. I don't know. Single family, it seems like you got to do obviously a lot more transactions and whatnot. And not to say that multifamily is easier, but to me, it made sense that like if I'm going to put some hard work into something, I probably want to have a higher yield, But yeah, I think multifamily is just more interesting to me. And again, an avenue to acquire more units more quickly.
Okay, so then how did you get to focus on raising capital then? Is that so that you can have an angle towards multifamily? Is that how you got involved in that as well?
Yeah. So like I said, I mean, not having experience, right? I was going through Sub 2 and my trainings and whatnot, and, learned that like wholesaling wasn't my thing. And, I was focusing on trying to start up a midterm rental business. And, I wasn't wholesaling or I wasn't calling sellers. So I was networking with a bunch of wholesalers. And, unfortunately, I just couldn't find a property that made sense for me. So community camp happened. And what got me to find out that I wanted to do capital raising is, my roommate at community camp, which now she's my integrator. Her name is Julia Scholes. She had pointed out to me that, we were networking at Sam Singh's Airbnb the first night, right? And she said she was watching me and was like in awe of me of like being able to speak to a bunch of people, be engaging and actually enjoy it and not get tired of it, right? And her personality is more, reserved and, not as outgoing. I mean, she's great. She's actually more outgoing than she thinks she is, but she prefers not to be like, client facing, forward facing. And for me, I've been in sales for 17 years, as a recruiter, and, speaking and networking and building rapport is second nature to me. It's like breathing. So that kind of led into capital raising because that's what a lot of that skill is, right? Like I can talk to people all day long. I can go to events every weekend if we're allowed to, right? I've got a job and I've got a family. But, I wanted to really play towards my strengths, which is something that PACE teaches you, right? Like why go up the hill, right? Like let's go with the flow or go with, nature type of thing. So it makes sense for me.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'll just give you some feedback on that. I do agree that the way you talk to people and the way you network is as a professional. Okay. And that's very important for higher net worth people. And because I've seen, because I'm doing private money now, and I'm doing a lot of the projects with operators and with other private money people and with connectors. And it surprises me a little bit that some people are just not coming from the professional environment. And And as a result, they don't talk the same language in the same way.
Correct.
And when we first started talking about working together, and you told me about some of the contacts that you've made, I could absolutely see, especially with your contacts within recruiting, how that category of potential investors would really resonate with your approach and communicating with them. I absolutely see that, because I come from tech, and the way you talk to people is the way tech people are talked to.
Yeah.
And tech people, they have money, so that's like a value add.
Yeah.
So what kind of approaches are you using to? I mean, Vina, just at community camp, just in terms of her saying, "Oh yeah, I just talked to a bunch of doctors, and then all of a sudden we got together and had a conference with all these people that just wanted to give them money." I thought that was an amazing conversation. So how are you going about getting people together like that? That it would be interesting to hear that.
Yeah, so my first kind of like success story with that was I had posted a video on the last day of community camp while I was walking towards the coffee shop. And, I had posted it, just kind of talking about my weekend, what I learned, what my takeaways were. And I had 3 people who followed me, which, 2 were like friends, and one was from someone that like I haven't spoken to them in years, and spurred up the conversation of like, "Oh, you're in real estate. What are you doing? Oh, I'd be interested in that." So for me, it shows the power of social media, right? So that's probably the first thing I'm trying to really double down on, is try to just get out there more, advertise myself, create a brand, and just kind of like let people know what I'm doing. Another thing is, I'm one of the OCJV leaders, which is a micro community within Sub 2 here in Orange County. So we have a biweekly meeting where we're inviting everyone. So Sub 2, Gator, TCs, real estate agents, anyone who wants to learn about real estate, and trying to network that way. So we're growing. We've only been around for 3 months, and now we've got 300 members, and we kind of average between 30 to 40 people every 2 weeks. So it's growing, and we're excited. And we're actually going to have our first family beach bash this Saturday.
I saw that.
Yeah.
I saw that advertisement. I said, I want to go. I want to go.
Yeah. So, again, like we want to do business together. We want to become friends.
Yeah.
A family, right? Like family is very important to us. So we want to show that to the community. And then, networking events, right? So I'll be going to Vina's Mastermind in October. I'll be going to the RPM conference in November. This past weekend, I just went to a networking event. It was actually a birthday party for a celebrity photographer, and made a lot of good contacts. I actually met some business people who were from Orange County. So again, it's like, you never know who you're going to meet. And the more you put yourself out there, the more opportunities will open up for you.
Yeah. And if you enjoy doing that too,
exactly.
Like
Yeah.
you said, some of the integrators who are a little more introverted and shy, they don't really like it as much.
Right.
But I found that, so my battle buddy, Jasmine, is a little bit introverted. So she doesn't like to go out there and talk in public. But when we did the podcast together, she was very relaxed, and this kind of forum really worked for her.
Right.
And so I'm not much personally of a social media person. I mean, if you look at my Facebook page now, it's like filled with nothing but people wishing me happy birthday, because that's the only thing that they see, is that my birthday comes along and I never posted anything.
Yeah.
And I probably had, before I joined Sub 2, I probably had 5 friends, just my real friends that I talk to.
Sure.
And then now I have like 400 or 500 friends. Right. It's like, oh my God, every single day, it's like you get 10 or 15 friend requests. And it's such a great community in that way, in terms of meeting people. So through your networking events, are you able to attract people outside of Sub 2 as well, who are interested in it?
Yes.
And how are you reaching those people? How are you getting them to attend? You just send invites of people or how do you get them to come?
Yeah, it's social media. So I made the event public, and we're also posting in other real estate groups. So like there's a Southern California real estate group, or like an Orange County. Yeah, so I'm doing that. And then again, like I do a lot, my primary platform is Instagram. So again, that blasts out to everyone. And I try to, tag other people so they repost it. So then it gets, in front of their network and, kind of just mushrooms out that way. But yeah, we've been able to attract those people through social media and like referrals or like, friends bringing their friends, bringing their family. We have people coming from LA and Inland Empire driving over an hour, maybe 2 hours to our event, which is so like humbling. And like, we really appreciate that like people are actually seeing value in what we're trying to do.
Well, I'm actually going to Southern California on the 24th. I wish your thing was a week later. I would have shown up.
I'll be in Scottsdale for Vina's Mastermind.
And that's when that is. Yeah. So I'm going to the Bigger Pockets conference in October.
Nice.
Yeah. So that'll be fun. It's big. So we'll see. It's because one of my business partners lives in Florida. So we says, hey, you live in Florida. Let's just go to the Bigger Pockets since it's
Might
there.
as well.
Yeah, so I like doing it. I travel quite a bit, as I told you before, but I typically haven't liked to go to too many events, right? I probably do 3 or 4 events a year, right? Is probably my max, because I'm kind of in between an integrator and a visionary. I'm not in either category. Yeah. I don't like to be totally inside all the time, but I don't like to be totally outside either. So
right in the middle,
kind of like a hybrid, right in the middle, like a product marketing person. I was talking to Irene Zhang about that. I says, yeah, I'm kind of like in the middle. And she was saying, yeah, I'm surprised when you didn't have any questions prepared for me for the podcast. I said, yeah, I'm just going to introduce you and then we're just going to let it go any way it goes.
Yeah.
I'm so used to preparing for everything. Right. And then, but when a person like that gets on a podcast, they seem to know everything. Right. So you just let them talk and they know so much because they're focused so much on it. So outside of multifamily, are you doing any other projects, or is that just your exclusive focus? Do you just want to own a bunch or just want to invest in it?
No. So I'm open to looking at multifamilies in landlord friendly states, right? So Arizona, Vegas, the Carolinas, but OCJV, our focus is in Orange County. So we're trying to find opportunities all in Orange County. We're welcome people to send deals to us. We just had a property in Long Beach, which is not Orange County, but very close, that we're underwriting and trying to see if we can do like a novation on. So that's where the single family is going to fall into play, is primarily Orange County.
So what kind of multifamily works well in Orange County then? Is it just your standard apartment complexes, or is there something more creative?
Yeah, I'm not too sure right now. I'll be honest with you. Someone did send us a potential boutique hotel, but unfortunately, the owner doesn't have any financials to share with us, and something about cash transactions, which was kind of weird, right? So, that was kind of like a dead lead now, because my underwriters can't do anything if there's no numbers, right? So,
absolutely.
Yeah. So again, we're open. I think I don't even know how many units it had. I think it only had like maybe under 30. So nothing too big, right? So on the smaller side of multifamily, we'd probably start in Orange County.
Right. Okay. So, but are you going for the larger projects, multi-million-dollar projects, or are you going for smaller, like $1 million projects?
Yeah. So for the big ones, I'm going to do a fund of funds for those. So that's going to be where I can get into some bigger projects. If we're going to try to tackle it on our own as a group, we'll start as, smaller, just because, we're all still kind of learning. I did invest in Vina's Arcadia multi-family project. That was, I think, 432 units. So that closed a few weeks ago. And then I potentially want to do a fund of funds for Jerry's Puerto Rico boutique hotel projects. So
that seems to be big. Everybody went there, and I got super
excited. I know, I didn't get to go.
I know. I heard about it, read about it, and I was saying, wow, why are these people so excited about this? There's something going on there that I don't know about.
There's
right?
some pretty outstanding tax benefits. I didn't hear it all, but something about 40% back. I'm like, that's awesome. you know?
That
So
sounds good.
yeah.
So that's the thing about multifamily that intrigues me, because one of the reasons why I came into sub two is because I needed some tax deductions. I have
Same.
pretty high income with
Same.
no deduction, not enough, right? And so I joined the sub two fund, except I still don't know much about. I mean, I joined with the hope of getting some education, but right now I haven't gotten any education.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I know they've got stuff planned, but Pace does so much stuff that he has to get around to it, right?
Yeah.
But
He's
but
got 1,000 irons in the fire.
he does. It's like I can't even imagine how he keeps up with everything. I can't even keep. We just have to do the homework, and I can't even keep up with the homework.
Exactly.
Right?
Imagine his brain just on overdrive 24/7.
Yeah, it was funny when he said, "I his biggest challenge is finding an assistant who can keep up with him." I don't think such a thing exists.
No, I would not want to be his assistant. That sounds
Definitely
really
not. Very stressful. He comes up with so many new ideas. He's probably got 10 new ideas every day. Right?
exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
So what do you hope? Where do you hope to be in a couple of years with in this business?
Yeah. So ideally, I want to be involved in more multifamily. So if it's fund to funds, that's fine. If I can, find a team where I can be a GP, that's
Yeah.
probably, a near goal I would like to achieve. And then definitely, growing the presence in Orange County, right? There's so much opportunity here. Everyone is scared about California and whatnot. But I know that there are ways, and I have partners and mentors who are very experienced and are helping us and leading us. So I do want to develop a name here locally. So
Yeah, and that's one of the things that Irene Zhang convinced me of relative to midterm rentals, right? So one of the big issues with California is the landlord tenant laws are very favorable to the tenant, right? However, if you're doing house hacking and you're renting rooms in a house by the room, you still have the same landlord tenant laws, but it seems like people are more willing to move out if they need to than if you've got to evict them because they've got a door that they can just lock you out of, right? So she convinced me that might be a really good way to go into the California market, right?
So
if you're not doing family.
Like pad
Yeah,
split?
like a pad split idea. Yeah.
Okay.
So she was giving me some ideas there. Pad splits are only for a certain class of property. And one market that I'm personally interested in is university market, midterm rentals for university.
Yes.
And the reason for that is because my kids, they get an apartment. It's so expensive. I mean, it's like ridiculously expensive.
Right.
Okay. And I thought, well, if they're charging that much to university students, then it's got to be a pretty good return on investment.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
So I just don't know how to get into those markets, right? And quite a few people are in the multifamily space, right?
Yes.
So have you had good luck finding operators who know how to actually GP or manage multifamily property?
No, not yet. Yeah, I'm still networking, trying to, dig deeper into that. I only started focusing on that, I think it's only been a
After
month and a
community
half now. Yeah, exactly. So there's definitely a lot of people who want to raise capital, or there's people who want to find the deals, but the actual operators, yeah, I haven't been able to really sync up with someone yet. So you said Caesar. I would love to speak with that person.
Yeah, I'm going to connect with you because I want to do business with him personally.
Yeah, that'd be great.
He knows how to operate a multifamily, right? Now he's been working on smaller ones. That's why I asked you if you're looking at small. I mean, to me, small is, maybe $1 million, something that would be like a big house or something.
Sure.
Right.
Sure. Yeah, we're in California.
10, 20 doors or something. Whereas, the big multifamily is over 100 doors, right? That to me, that's beyond my comprehension in terms of how would I manage it. If somebody gave me that job, what I do, I'd say, wow, I would probably panic first of all. Right.
We definitely want some experience.
So you definitely want somebody who's experienced, and he knows how to do it. And I said, look, I'd like to work with you. And since I know another person, I mentioned your name to him.
Yeah.
And so I think you guys would be, and especially since your area of focus, and maybe we could do something together. So that would be really cool.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Let's make it happen.
Yeah. Okay. So here's another thing. Okay. So and these are areas that I'm struggling with. So I want to see how other people are solving them. So my biggest problem is because I'm more focused in the PML space at the moment, and it's real easy using your own money to fund projects. It's super easy, right? Because if you have it, you see a project, if you like it, and you trust the parties involved, then you just do it. It's simple, right? But it becomes increased. It becomes there's a different and another level of complication when you try to invest other people's money, right? So the biggest problem you have is, how do I not ruin my reputation with these people, right? And because if you ruin your reputation by not getting a return on their capital, then nobody's ever going to want to do business with you, right? So you have to treat their money even better than you would treat your own. Because 100%. If you take a loss, you can say, I took the risk, I took a loss, okay, no big deal. But your investors are not going to be as forgiving, right? So that's one complication. The next complication is timing the availability of money that people have with when your projects are available. Right. Okay, it's like, oh my God, I talked to so many people that wanted to get involved and had money. They have money, right? But when they can deploy it, it's out of sync with when you need it.
Right.
Right. So here's a perfect example. I had this great deal here in Kailua, right? It was a short sale, a foreclosure property from a bank, and the bank, the land value of the property is over $1 million, just the land value. Okay, yeah. Last sale was 1.2 million. They had it listed for 350,000. Wow. Says what? Why is that? Because that was the prior mortgage, right? So they just want to get their money back. And I bought a short sale one. So the way short sales work is they put it up for a bid. There's a bidding process at the bank, right? So my operator is going to bid 725,000. Okay, still below market, right? And he's going to put $300,000 of his own money in, right? And so this is the project I told you about.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, so I had somebody lined up. It was like it was a perfect fit, right? So I call him up. And he says, look, I got the perfect deal for you. It's 50% LTV, right in the range for you in terms of what you're looking for, right? Do you want to do the deal? Do you want to see the underwriting? It says, Jim, I just deployed my money last week, right? And it's like, oh, man, that killed me, right? Because it was a perfect fit for what this investor wanted, right? So I'm thinking that maybe the only way you can really do it is that you have so many people. There's a couple ways. You can create a fund or a fund of funds, or you can just have such a big network that you just broadcast, say, hey, I got this deal. Anybody want to do it, right?
Right.
So my question is, how do you think about that problem, and how are you considering solving it?
Yeah, so that's actually something that Vina had taught us, and she spoke to her own personal experience. She said, like, her first time trying to raise, right? I think it was just like $1 million. You have to get commitments of double, right? So you need to find 2 million, hoping that you can actually get $1 million. Yeah, so again, it's like sales, right? You just got to keep that pipeline going 24/7 and keeping those relationships as warm as you can. And and I would think, at least also, like, for that example, is that don't rely on just one person for that one project, right? So, but yeah, you would have to have more investors in your pipeline than what you actually need.
True. But then how do you communicate with them? Because sometimes you get these projects and you got to fund them next week, right?
Right.
Okay, then how do you, I mean, you just have, I mean, it's one thing to keep a network warm, right? But if you got 100 people in your network, it's difficult to stay in touch with them all the time, right? And it's almost like time kills all deals, right? That's the old adage. Time in sales, time kills all deals. Okay, so if you got 100 people in your network and you can talk to 100 people every week, that's like unrealistic. um, do you create a broadcast list, right? To say, hey, I mean, this is one of the things Pace mentioned in one of our projects is have this ready, right? So I'm having a difficult time figuring out, because I met a lot of people, right? And I would say that in terms of the people I've met, it's probably in the tens of millions of dollars that they possess. But I'm still having a hard time getting the money lined up with the project.
Right.
I haven't figured out how to solve that problem effectively, right? I mean, versus, so what I've done is, so alternate methods of doing it are considering doing the fund of funds or whatever, right? So the people commit their money in, and then you get automatic diversification, plus you get the ability to have money available when you need it because you've got it in a fund, and you kind of broadly diversify it so that people can get a return, a reasonable return, and they feel safer too if it's that. But I found another vehicle, and this is a vehicle that I'm pursuing, which is a big commercial credit line. And when I mean big, I mean like $5 million.
Right.
Okay. So I've actually talked to 3 different providers of these. Okay. So they exist. There are people who are in the market. They want to do it. They like the class of the investment class. And usually what they want to do is they want to underwrite you as the person, right? So you have to have a net worth and you have to have assets, right? So if you already have that, then you can get at least a good size credit limit. Then they want what's called your deal tape, right? What's your deal tape? It's the whole description of all your deals, when you granted the loan, what kind of loan it was, how much risk it was, when you got the return, all that stuff. And then they want to see your files, right, to make sure that that it's real. And so now in my mind, I'm saying, okay, so that's more like investing your own money. They're like leverage your money, right? And they let you lend up to a percentage of the deal, and they give you like, so if you have, let's say you have a deal that's 100,000 first lien, they'll let you lend up to 70% out of the credit line and 30% of your own money. So they have quite a bit of equity in there to protect themselves. Okay. And the rates are pretty good. So 3.5% over the SOFR index, which is currently about 5.3. So that's 8.8%, right? So that's like a DSCR, right?
Right.
Versus going out there and offering 12, 15, 18% to other people, you get greater margin, right? There's risk. I mean, you're taking on the risk yourself, but in essence, you're taking on the risk anyway if you're protecting your investors, right?
Yeah.
So that's a direction I'm seriously investigating. I've already talked to 3 providers, so I'm going to do that, and I'm going to try to do the fund to fund. I don't understand it completely. What I understand is you can have non-accredited investors up to 35, and you have to have personal relationships with them, which is not a hard problem to solve.
Well, there's types, right? That's the 506B.
Yeah,
506C is everyone's accredited,
right.
And you're allowed to advertise. So that's the route I want to go, because my main strategy is social media, right?
So right. So you're going to get a bunch of accredited investors.
Ideally. Yeah. And again, because like I said, my target is Orange County and tech. So.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So let me ask you this. Okay. So if you do that, do you have to have a broker's license?
No.
Do you have to be a broker?
No.
You don't. Why not?
That's insane. That's insane. I know.
Why not? Because they're accredited? They should know better? Is that
I need to have an SEC lawyer, which I do have through Vina. His name is Nick. So you need one of those, 100%. So he'll be setting everything up, right? All our LLCs and all our accounts and whatnot. But I do not need to have any type of license.
That's great.
Because because what we're trying to do is we're doing an SEC exemption. So I'm not selling a security, right? So the exemption is that 506C is that it's accredited investors,
right?
And I don't have to file. But a 506B is you can have up to 35 non-accredited
35.
and unlimited, but you have to have a personal relationship and you cannot advertise to anyone. And I don't have that many personal friends apply network. So, I need to advertise, right? So that's the route I want to go towards.
Okay, well, I'm thinking about doing multiple routes, right? So,
Yeah, for sure.
one of the things I did, I mean, I think I mentioned this to you in one of our prior conversations, is I went on a trip, a family trip, and they just inevitably asked me, "So, what are you doing now?" Right? And I just told them what I was doing. They said, "That sounds really interesting." And says, "Is it?" They say, "Is it safe?" And I said, "Well, it depends on what position you're in and what class of investment you're looking at. But yeah, it can actually be pretty safe." And I told them, I said, "Look, I've been doing first lien private mortgages for about 10 years. And I actually never missed a payment, not once in 10 years. None of my borrowers missed any payments. So I do know that can be pretty safe." And then you get into more exotic things where you're doing gap funding for, a significant project, and that's more risky, but you don't have to get people in those. There's higher returns, but there's much more risk.
Right.
And so they said, "Yeah, I'm definitely interested." I got some relatives into different projects, and I thought, well, my mother took me to the side and says, "No matter what you do, don't lose their money." Right. And I said, "Yeah, if you want to get out of the family, that's the first thing you do is lose their money."
Right.
Which I don't want to do. I like my family, so I don't want to get kicked out. So I thought maybe a fund of fund, right? Because they're relatives, so they are family. And I was thinking that maybe that's a way to go, right?
Yeah.
I just need to find out the issues. And then you talk to people about this and they say, "I need that." It's like everybody has the same problem if you're in private money, right?
Yep.
So they're saying, "If you learn that, can you help me do it?" I'm going, maybe I can do that. Maybe I can help people get theirs set up if I do one, right? And if I get a credit line set up, then I'll have that knowledge on how to do that.
Yep.
Right. And I'll tell you, and you don't hear about it much in Sub2. You hear about people creating, very small business credit lines, like $100,000 or $50,000. I'm talking about a 5 million commercial credit line, right? That's a significant, you have to have a significant business to do that.
Right.
And that would be taking, I guess that would be Gator 8.0 or something, if you can learn how to do that, right? But if you want to create a big business, like I think many of us do, then you have to push the boundaries and do that, right?
Yeah.
So I definitely want to stay connected with you, because you're pushing the boundaries back. I just don't understand it. And you've got Nick. I met Nick as well. He's a really nice guy.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Yeah. And so did you start that project with him already? You and your partner?
No, yeah, we actually have a meeting with him this week. So it's underway.
Great. And so you're going to get accredited investors. And so what does that allow you to do? Can you invest in any project, or does it have to be like a Vina Jetty level project?
I think you can invest in any project, and there's no limitation to how much you can raise and how many investors you need.
Really?
Yeah.
They're accredited.
Just accredited, yeah. So
you don't have to be a broker. That's like blows me away.
Well, because that's what I'm saying, because it's an exemption. I'm not selling a security. If I was selling a security like an IPO for a company, then yes, I need to file with SEC, but we're not. And that's why there's those two exemptions. I think there's 4. I don't know what the other 2 are, but the 2 main ones that like Vina is teaching us is 506B and 506. Right. Yeah.
C, right. Yeah. I saw that. No, there must be an A and a D then. That's 4.
There's 2 other ones, and I forgot what they were because she said she doesn't really do them herself. So I'm like, okay, I only care about the ones you care about.
Yeah. Okay, great. All right. Well, that's it. I really enjoyed our time together as always.
Thank you
and
so much.
I'm going to introduce you to Cesar Garcia, and I'll see you at the Raising Private Money conference.
Yeah. Well, we'll talk before then. We've got some other opportunities we need to talk about.
We do. I hope we can. You and I, we just seem to resonate. So I think hopefully we'll be able to do some business together.
Yeah. Maybe our next one can be about our credit card or credit points hacking.
Oh yeah. I could talk for hours on that.
Yeah.
Right?
Awesome.
Okay,
Yeah.
Brenda Jones, thank you so much, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right. Take care. Thank you.